On the evening of June 19, 2020, a taxi was driving from Vienna out to a small, almost nondescript airport called Wöslau, just outside the city. The drive, which should have taken about 35 minutes, stretched longer than anticipated as the driver missed the entrance. The airport itself was modest, to say the least, with one tower, 2 hangars, and a restaurant. Only 2 planes can fit there at the same time. On that day, one private jet, a Cessna Citation Mustang, had been patiently waiting for its lone passenger. Just a little after 7:45 p.m., a well-clothed man emerged from the taxi. His dress was light blue jeans, a white shirt, a black leather jacket, and black sneakers. His general look, of course, indicated refinement, but nothing about him said he was in a hurry. He turned to the 2 pilots waiting for him and paid $7,920 cash for the flight. He did not ask for a receipt. At 8:03 p.m., that plane took off, bound for an unknown destination. But this was no ordinary traveler. He was Jan Marsalek, a key figure in what would soon become one of Germany's most infamous financial scandals. Marsalek, with his set of forged passports and network of Foreign Intelligence Service contacts, lived an intriguing life. He was a businessman, but to him, being a spy was the kind of role he relished, wrapped in mystery and luxury. Now, he was on the run, vanishing the night that would change his life forever. Marsalek was at the heart of the collapse of Wirecard, a once lauded tech firm specializing in online payments. Some even likened it to Germany's PayPal. From its founding in 1999, it had already established itself as a market value 3 times as large as Deutsche Bank by 2018. June 2020 was different. On June 18th, auditors announced that $1.9 billion lodged apparently in Asian accounts could not be located. The next day, CEO Markus Braun resigned. A week later, June 25th, saw Wirecard declare insolvency overnight. At its zenith, it was one of Germany's most brilliant tech success stories and has become one of the country's most shocking corporate failures. Dan McCrum is an investigative journalist for the Financial Times. He had spent years tracking Wirecard. He was really persistent in uncovering fraud operations run by the firm. Meanwhile, the drama rolled further, and members of Wirecard were arrested one after another. On June 23rd, Markus Braun was arrested and presented with charges of fraud, market manipulation, and many other similar accusations. One of the other key figures in this drama was also involved, one Jan Marsalek, who was in charge of operations of Wirecard in Asia. Marsalek does not wait for the interpretation of his wrongdoing. It was actually on June 18th when he was removed from his position, 2 weeks after auditors discovered that billions went missing. Before this legal process, Marsalek flees. According to reports, he flew from Vienna to the Philippines on June 23rd. He said, allegedly, he went there to look for the missing billions. But soon he became suspicious due to tampered immigration records and flight history. He was in the Philippines, but at no point in time could he prove to have really entered the country. It seemed an elaborate game plan to elude the authorities and hasten his escape. Before his disappearance, Marsalek had surreptitiously met with 2 Austrian associates in Munich, a former intelligence officer and a right-wing politician. They arranged his flight from Belarus. Once Marsalek arrived at Minsk, he was picked up in a black Mercedes and taken to a hotel. He is never seen again, and authorities go scrounging for his whereabouts. Further investigation revealed that Marsalek had been spending most of his time in a luxurious villa in Munich, surrounded by a strange circle of former intelligence officers, military personnel, and money launderers. His residence was not just a house, but a hub for secret meetings, shady deals, and whispered conversations. Among his curiosities in his villa was a Vladimir Putin figurine sitting on his desk, and next to it was his black combat uniform as he wore it in 2017 when he went off to visit Russian troops in Syria, an indication of his penchant for war tourism. Marsalek remains traceable despite a global manhunt. He is claimed to have informants in several of the intelligence agencies. He has always been one step ahead of each trap set for his capture. His disappearance alone only added to the mystery surrounding his role in the scandal. One thing is clear: a man extremely adept at slipping through cracks has disappeared, leaving behind financial catastrophe and a knotty knot of unsolved questions over one of Germany's biggest historical corporate collapses. A new Financial Times report shines additional light on ex-charged chief operating officer at Wirecard and its role in one of the largest financial fraud cases in history. According to the report, Marsalek was involved in espionage, illegal activities by intelligence agencies, and other operations not corporate malpractice alone. Sources say that during his revelatory chats with businessmen, Marsalek boasted of owning the plans for Russia's infamous nerve agent known as Novichok, used in assaults against prominent dissidents, including former spy Sergei Skripal and opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Leaked chat messages also implicate him in dealings with agencies like the CIA and Mossad, and Austria's right-wing populist party FPÖ, in which he supposedly ran as an undercover informant. Further leads pointed to the Domestic Intelligence Services of Austria, whose head is Martin Weiss. Marsalek had ambitions beyond finance and intelligence. Indeed, he thought even about raising mercenaries in Libya, a project which, according to reports in the Financial Times, received some support from Austria's Ministry of Defense. The report further indicates that Marsalek often changed various pseudonyms. He employed John Smith in video calls, and during his flight, he was using the names Richard Dabrowski and Karim Ghasmi. His escape was so well planned that he could also be believed to have utilized the identity Max Mao, which is allegedly linked with a Caribbean country's diplomatic passport. He even adopted the identity of a Russian Orthodox priest named Konstantin Byazov as part of an attempt to disappear, with agencies like BKA and Europol and Interpol disseminating these assumed identities during the subsequent manhunt. In 2020, Marsalek had been traveling extensively across the world when he went missing. Reports stated this placed him in cities as far-flung as Singapore and Dubai, Budapest and Paris, Vienna and London, and even Moscow. He reportedly made 60-plus trips to Russia between 2010 and 2020, mostly for brief, furtive, secret meetings. It was broadly believed by 2021 he had indeed fled to Moscow, where he assumed a new identity and has been living a life of luxury since Mayendorf Gardens, one of the most exclusive residential areas in Russia, is said to be relatively close to the residence of President Vladimir Putin. Though German and Austrian media widely reported on Marsalek's appearance in Moscow, his new life there could not be independently confirmed. It was reported that the Russian intelligence tried to get in touch with the law enforcement in Germany, but some sources say that some German officers had no interest in communicating with Marsalek. It may prevent further conspiracy theories. In 2023, things become slightly clearer. According to an investigation by Wall Street Journal and an investigation by the site Bellingcat, Marsalek had been carrying out his activity as a Russian spy for nearly a decade. In effect, classified information of Wirecard customers, including German intelligence officers, was being handed over to Russian agencies. In some cases, even Wirecard itself processed payments going to undercover agents from the German BKA. It is said that Marsalek handed over the information to Russian intelligence, which compromised sensitive operations. Among other pieces of information heeding the warning, connections with Wagner Group, one of the notorious private Russian military companies, also surfaced. Apparently, he funded their operations and ran a covert operation on behalf of Russians, which included espionage in the UK and other European countries. Further reports implicated Marsalek in hacking operations and intelligence gathering with a network, including several operatives in Bulgaria who were also implicated in spying for Russia. As of February 2024, investigators for Hamburg's prosecutors reportedly already accessed more than 10,000 telegram messages exchanged between Marsalek and his contacts, thus sealing more forcefully his position as a spy. Such a disturbing example, among many others, that court filings brought before the public is the illegal transfer of secure equipment, including Sinina, secure inter-network architecture, shipped to Russia in 2022 at Marsalek's behest to the Russian FSB. He might have been lured on his path into espionage by Natalia Slobina, the former Russian model with whom he was sometimes romantically involved. As it has been reported that she introduced him into the world of spying way back in 2014, he most likely found Russia-friendly escape allies in whose service he could take flight when the Wirecard scandal broke out in Germany. He's managed to evade an international manhunt, and several rumors propelled suggestions that he may be working at present out of Dubai, presumably rebuilding the Wagner Group in Africa after its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, was recently killed. Meanwhile, the trial into the Wirecard scandal continues in Germany, with the prosecution failing to make any breakthrough in catching Marsalek, who has become one of the world's most sought-after men. In 2023, Marsalek released a letter exonerating himself and placing responsibility for the Wirecard fraud on one former colleague, Oliver Bellenhaus. Yet, the letter did not reveal where Marsalek was or where the missing $1.9 billion at the center of the firm's implosion was.